The sky over Virelia Prime bled violet and orange, twin suns dying behind curtains of ash. Once, this world had been a garden of floating coral cities and singing oceans. Now it was a graveyard. The insectoid Kresh Dominion had glassed the surface 3 days ago, leaving only blackened reefs and rivers of molten glass. Captain Elias Kane, Terran Recon Fleet, piloted his battered dropship Mercy's Ghost through the smoke. Officially, he was here to retrieve black box data from a downed frigate. Unofficially, Earth wanted proof the Kresh had used illegal xenocidal warheads, proof that would justify war. Elias didn't care about politics tonight. He just wanted to get in, grab the box, and get out before the Kresh patrol cruisers returned. The Ghost settled on a shattered landing platform that jutted from a coral spire like a broken bone. Elias stepped out in full battle armor, the Union Jack and the old Terran skull stenciled on his shoulder. The air stank of ozone and roasted flesh. Somewhere, a child was crying. He followed the sound through twisted corridors until he found them, 30 Virelian survivors, aquatic humanoids with translucent fins and pearl-white skin. Their elders were arguing in melodic clicks. In the center lay a wounded female, silver blood pooling beneath her. A jagged shard of Kresh shrapnel had torn through her side. The elders glanced at her, then at the sky where Kresh engines growled closer, and made their decision. "She is slowing us," the matriarch declared. "The deep current demands sacrifice for survival." They turned and vanished into the dark water tunnels, leaving the woman behind. Elias knelt. Her eyes, huge, liquid gold, met his. "Water, please," she rasped in broken trade. He could have left her. Protocol said secure the data and exfil. Instead he keyed his medkit, slapped a coagulant patch on the wound, and scooped her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. "Name's Elias," he said. "And nobody gets left behind on my watch." As Kresh spotlights swept the ruins, he carried her back to the Ghost. The data box could wait. Some things were more important than orders. Inside the dropship, Elias sealed the hatch just as Kresh plasma scorched the platform. The Ghost roared skyward, dodging flak that lit the cockpit crimson. The Virelian, her name was Nerida Kaline, clutched the co-pilot seat, fins trembling. "You should have let me die with honor," she whispered. "Honor's overrated when you're breathing," Elias replied, banking hard. "Besides, humans wrote the book on refusing to die politely." She managed a weak smile that lit her bioluminescent freckles. While the autopilot plotted a blind jump, Elias worked on her wound. Kresh shrapnel carried neurotoxins. Standard human meds barely slowed it. Her golden eyes dimmed. "There is a way," she said. "The bonding. Old ritual. Shares life force. But it binds souls. Forever." Elias met her gaze. "Lady, forever sounds better than watching you fade." She placed webbed fingers against his temples. Light poured from her skin into his. Pain, memory, joy, her childhood swimming singing reefs, the day Kresh battleships darkened the sky, her mate's death shielding their egg cluster. In return he gave her earth, oceans, thunderstorms, the stubborn refusal to surrender. The toxin burned away. Their heartbeats synced. When the light faded, Nerida's wound had closed, and something electric thrummed between them. Outside, 3 Kresh interceptors locked weapons. "Hold tight, mermaid," Elias grinned. "Time to teach bugs what happens when you piss off a human who just found something worth fighting for." He rolled the Ghost into a suicidal dive straight at the lead interceptor. Space became a cathedral of violence. The Ghost danced between crimson lances of Kresh particle beams. Elias flew like a demon, using the planet's debris ring for cover. Nerida, linked to the ship through their new bond, felt every targeting solution before the enemy computers did. "Port wing, 3 seconds," she sang. Elias barrel rolled, the beam carved empty vacuum. He fired Earth-made rail slugs, dumb, ancient, and impossible to jam. The lead interceptor blossomed into white fire. The remaining 2 broke formation in panic. Elias chased, vengeance singing in his blood. Between maneuvers they spoke in bursts. "Why did your people abandon you?" he demanded. "Because I carry the last royal egg line," she answered, voice shaking. "The Kresh want it destroyed. My council decided 1 life for 30 was acceptable." Elias's laugh was cold iron. That math never worked for humans. They destroyed the second interceptor over Virelia's night side, city lights long dead beneath them. The third fled. Elias let it go. He had coordinates now. The Kresh were massing at the Helios Drift for a final strike on the refugee fleet. And the royal eggs? Stolen hours ago. Nerida's grief poured through the bond like ice water. Elias felt it as his own. "We're getting them back," he promised. She looked at him, eyes glowing with something fiercer than gratitude. "Then I fight with you, Elias Kane. To the end of stars." He keyed an encrypted burst to Terran High Command. Request immediate reinforcements. Reason: civilians targeted for genocide. Then he punched the drive toward Helios Drift, two hearts burning in one small ship against an empire. Helios Drift was a Kresh-high fortress the size of a moon, all chitin spires and acidic fog. Elias and Nerida slipped aboard inside a stolen waste shuttle. She wore a scavenged envirosuit that hid her fins. He looked like any other human prisoner slated for the arenas. They moved through corridors that pulsed like veins. Kresh warriors, 8 feet of claw and carapace, marched past, mandibles clicking hymns of conquest. Nerida's bond let them sense patrols before they rounded corners. Twice they hid in maintenance alcoves, pressed close, sharing breath and heartbeat. "You smell like sunlight on salt water," he murmured. "You smell like gun oil and reckless hope," she teased back, fins brushing his cheek. They found the egg chamber, a cavernous hall where thousands of stolen Virelian eggs floated in preservative tanks, the royal cluster glowing brightest at the center. Guarding them stood Lord Admiral Skreethak, his carapace scarred from 100 conquests, flanked by elite deathblades. Security fields shimmered. No way in without raising alarms. Nerida closed her eyes. Through the bond she reached out, not to mines, but to the eggs themselves. A royal lullaby only the unborn could hear. The tanks began to rock. Cracks spider-webbed across crystal. Skreethak hissed in fury. Alarms screamed. Kresh flooded the chamber. Elias grinned like a wolf. "That's our cue." He slapped a breach charge on the field generator and pulled Nerida behind cover. The explosion turned the hall into chaos. The fight was brutal ballet. Elias's carbine spat hypersonic flechettes. Kresh chitin exploded in green sprays. Nerida sang, an ancient war cry that weaponized sound itself. Pressure waves shattered carapace, burst organs. Together they carved a path to the royal eggs. Skreethak charged, scythe arms flashing. Elias took a slash across the ribs but rolled under the next, planting a plasma grenade on the Admiral's underbelly. The explosion hurled Skreethak into a bulkhead, wounded but alive. Nerida reached the royal cluster, webbed hands pressing against the tank. The eggs pulsed in recognition. One cracked open early, a tiny princess with her mother's eyes. More Kresh poured in. Elias's ammo clicked empty. He drew his combat knife. "Get the kids out," he roared. "I'll hold them." "No." Nerida's voice cracked like a tidal wave. She lifted the newborn to her chest and extended her free hand. The bond flared white-hot. Every egg in the chamber answered, hatching at once. 1,000 infant Virelians sang in perfect harmony. The sonic lance punched through armor, flesh, bone. Kresh warriors dropped, liquefied. Skreethak rose, half his face burned away, and triggered the fortress self-destruct. Elias grabbed Nerida and the newborn, sprinting for the hangar as corridors collapsed behind them. They stole a Kresh interceptor and fled as the high fortress became a second sun. Behind them, the refugee fleet jumped in, Terran battleships flanked by Virelian survivors who had heard their princess's song across light years. On the flagship TFS Retribution, Elias, bandaged, bloodied, defiant, stood before Fleet Admiral Singh via holo. "Captain Kane," Singh said coldly, "you disobeyed direct orders, risked war, and destroyed a strategic target without authorization." Elias met her eyes. In his arms, the Virelian princess cooed. Nerida stood beside him, fins proud. "With respect, ma'am," Elias said, "the Kresh glassed civilians. They were coming for the rest. Show mercy." A wolfish smile curved his lips. "That ship sailed with our civilians." Singh studied the newborn, then Nerida's hand entwined with Elias's. Something softened in the Admiral's eyes. "Court-martial postponed," she said. "Welcome to the war, Captain. Both of you." Nerida leaned into him, whispering, "Your people accept us?" "Terrans adopt strays," he whispered back. "It's a habit." The final battle raged in the Helios Rift, Kresh Armada versus the newborn human Virelian alliance. Skreethak, rebuilt in cybernetic horror, led from the dreadnought World Ender. Elias commanded the Retribution's fighter wing. Nerida, linked to every hatched royal child now aboard evacuation ships, became a living battlenet. Her song guided missiles, predicted enemy vectors, turned chaos into symphony. Inside the Rift's nebula, Skreethak's flagship loomed. Elias flew straight at it, Nerida's voice in his mind. Together! They rammed the hangar bay, breached the bridge. Skreethak waited, blades dripping acid. "You mammals breed like plague," the Admiral hissed. "And we love like supernovae," Elias answered. The duel was primal. Skreethak's speed against human unpredictability, acid against knife and pistol. Nerida sang a single perfect note, resonance that shattered Skreethak's cybernetics. Elias drove his blade through the soft joint at the throat. "For every world you burned," he said, and twisted. The World Ender died with its master. Years later, the twin suns of New Virelia rose over coral cities rebuilt higher than before. Human engineers worked beside Virelian singers. Children with fins and stubborn human grins chased glowing fish through sky bridges. On a balcony of living coral, Admiral Elias Kane, retired, scarred, happy, watched his daughter chase fire orbs with her little brother, born the natural way, fins and all. Nerida slipped her arms around him from behind, tendrils weaving through his now silver hair. Their bond still shimmered, brighter with every year. "Still think mercy was a mistake," she teased. He turned, kissed her slow and deep. "Mercy brought me you. Best damn mistake I ever made." Below, the first Mixed Species Academy opened its gates. Statues stood at the entrance, a human and a Virelian, hands clasped, looking to the stars. Somewhere out there, new threats brewed. But here, in the light of 2 suns and 1,000 songs, a family proved what the galaxy was slowly learning. When humans love, they do not conquer. They adopt the universe, one stubborn heartbeat at a time. And the stars themselves sing back.